At last, I finished Avatar: The Last Airbender. The show, not the movie. For the very first time. Yeah, I know, I was probably the only person on the planet who hadn't seen it before. I managed to avoid all spoilers and hide my eyes from the countless memes I saw over the last 12 years or so, knowing I'd stop being lazy one day and sit down to watch it all. I had never seen one single clip or scene or knew who anyone was before I hit play on that first episode a couple months ago. So now I've finished all 3 seasons. But what can I say that hasn't already been said about this beloved series? To me, I think Avatar is a worthwhile show that is consistently good at what it does. Aimed at kids, but not shying away from the harshness of reality or war. It certainly breaks ground for a younger audience. But remember, I didn't grow up with the show like the rest of you. I don't have that same nostalgia that you all do. I'm 33 now, and I gotta admit, the show didn't blow my mind. I did enjoy it for most of its 60-some parts, and I understand why it has touched so many different people. It's also probably a series that benefits from multiple viewings, but for right now I can only talk about my one initial reaction. Avatar is heavily character-driven, with a mostly simple story that is easy to follow along. I like its characters. I like their interactions and relationships and interracial politics. The show has its problems though, namely feeling sometimes repetitive and annoyingly cyclical. But it's a kid's show, so the themes and mantras of many characters are beaten over your head. This is commonplace in long-running TV. Hey, just look at Game of Thrones before everyone hated it. We can forgive and accept these things in an extended story. Avatar excels at its world building, and the small consequence of it is an often episodic nature that repeats things you already know. Maybe that's the point. Wisecrack recently made a great vid about Avatar's overt theme of the cost of war. It is clear the damage 100 years of war can do. There's genocide and refugees, and the illusion of peace at the expense of individual freedom. There's even cultural genocide. This is all great stuff. I mean, not the ravaging in war. I mean, them showing, not shying away from this, like, actually giving it to you straight. I appreciate that. The Fire Nation has ravaged homes and families to the point where they don't even have an identity anymore. The Avatar, the promised one to bring balance and harmony to the world of the 4 nations, has disappeared in the time of the war. He's been frozen in an iceberg, along with his loyal flying bison, when he is discovered by 2 members of the Water Tribe. I liked this epic introduction. It lent me insight into some of the cooler decisions they would make later on. Yeah, I think my initial reaction is I like it, but I don't love it. I see how certain people can love it, and the characters are what really holds it up. I'll just quickly delve into it. The major players, the innocent and naive Aang, the nurturing Katara, the ridiculous Sokka, the awesome blind earthbender Toph, and of course the real MVP, Appa. She's scared of the chair. Together they journey over many setbacks to find and defeat Fire Lord Ozai, a merciless ruler hell-bent on sharing his country's greatness with the rest of the world by force. He believes he is right and that the Fire Nation should rule all. Specifically, he thinks he should rule all. It's like dictatorship. It was a wise decision that Ozai's face is never really shown until much later in the show. Just his deeds and what he is capable of. The evil Fire Lord could be anyone. That's a scary subtext. You know, a major strength of the show is that it continually shows that there are good and bad guys on both sides, if there's even 2 sides to begin with. I love when shows do that, you know. They show people are not all evil, and some people are not all good. It shows us the humanity of those in the Fire Nation, and especially shows us the inner amorality of the supposed good nations all around. But yeah, it's kind of a drag when we get these, like, Monster of the Week episodes over and over, which always goes something like, the gang meets someone new. Revelation, they're not who they say they are. Patch it up at the end! It mostly works, but this is what I mean when I say repetitive. It almost feels like some episodes were unnecessary. But then I remember the great world building it has, so maybe it's worth it in the end. You know, one of the show's major strengths, like really great, is that it's so good at world building. It really is. And this is a small consequence of it, is that you get these kind of repetitive, episodic episodes that just repeat the formula. But hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know, kind of thing. It's a kid's show. It's a minor nitpick. It's just kind of annoying. It's like, oh, they didn't need that. There are no real big surprises in where the show goes. We know it has to end well, and we know its straightforward plot of Aang defeating the Fire Lord has to happen. But it's interesting that the show remains captivating even with its basic premise. I like that all the elements are connected. It's how Iroh learns to redirect electricity from studying waterbending. So that was fucking awesome. Whoosh. Each element has some cooler advancements. Fire can bend electricity. Water can bend blood. Earth can bend metal. What a fucking amazing moment when Toph figures out how. That was perfect. Cross-cutting from the older monk guy teaching Aang about the Avatar state and the chakras, and then he's like, you must dig deeper, and even metal can be bad. And then you see Toph trapped when the guy's caught her, and she's just like, Toph, you rule! And she breaks the thing. That was a missed opportunity for her to have like a rock pun. Toph, you rock. You know, because she bends rocks. I'm canceled, aren't I? And air. You know, I can't remember if air had anything else other than just what Aang always does. I guess he can kind of fly? More themes. People's blind trust in authority. The Fire Nation has brainwashed and used propaganda on its own people to make them seem right in all situations. Sound familiar? Another ep with a huge moral is the one where two tribes hate each other over a centuries-long feud over what happened between their old leaders of the past. Aang solves this by making up an altering of the events they tell him, and they buy it enough to make amends with each other. History is written by the winners, as Orwell said, but more often than not, we don't know the full truth. So it's best to take it with a grain of salt and always try and see the other side. History changes. It is constantly rewritten. So that was a nice episode to show how futile age-long grudges are, and how stories get turned into lies. And there is actual brainwashing in the legendary Earth Kingdom Ba Sing Se, whose giant fortress walls have never been penetrated. You can guess what's going to be attempted in the show. The secret police force called the Dai Li. Clancy Brown joins. Control everything in the backdrop. While a loony king who has no idea what he's doing appears to be running things in the front, with a bear sidekick. Peace and order is always maintained, but by the means of physical brainwashing of its citizens. They live their day-to-day lives unknowing of the problems of the outside world, and tricked into believing there is no war at all. The episode Tales of Ba Sing Se could almost feel like filler, but I dig how it shows what our guys are doing to portray the passage of time in this place. There's also a great story of the happy Uncle Iroh as head of a tea shop. He loves his tea. More tea, please. His style is more pacifist-oriented, although we hear the stories of his moniker as the Dragon of the West and tales of his failed siege on Ba Sing Se. But we look at Iroh now, old and weathered by time, which grants perspective. You start to wonder how someone like Iroh is even on the Fire Nation side. Maybe that's what old age does to you. Reduces the anger in your heart and proves the futility of war. We can all be a little more like Iroh. You know, you look at some of the kindest older human beings like Bob Ross and read about how they were very angry people when they were younger, and it's like a consistent thing that the nicest people alive, like genuinely kind, who are like older, they had that younger stage where they were like full of anger and hate, and they overcame that with time. I think that's probably what happened to Iroh. If he was ever an angry person, it's what ends up happening to Zuko, and that is a great true life lesson. It really is. I mean, even myself, I'm 33 now. I'm getting up there. I'm still young, I guess, but I've lived too long at this point. And when I don't like a lot of the things about myself when I was younger. I said things I regret. I had anger when I shouldn't have in certain times. And it just, when you get older, you realize how like stupid and pointless it is. Just walk away from situations that make you mad like that. And even in my reviews, I kind of jokingly am mad about things, but maybe I was a little more serious about it when I was younger. But now I'll definitely try and take that into account. And that's the genius of Zuko's arc. He has so much anger and hatred, and he learns to grow out of it much sooner than others. The show takes its time with all these things, and doesn't rush relationships along, and has a positive message and outlook on life. There is hope for everyone. Even Jet, whose vitriolic views on the Fire Nation was instilled in him as a kid, finds redemption. You know, one of the last episodes where the gang sees the play about themselves, that was a very clever way for the writers to make fun of themselves. Did he just die? I don't know. It was pretty unclear. It's funny because Jet probably died, but it was left open-ended. There are a lot of coincidences in Avatar. Most are negligible, but some stick out. It really could have done without all the constant bipolar arguing our main team has with each other, like, over and over. I mean, maybe it's because they're kids, but God, I felt like I heard the same conversation dozens of times. Sometimes the show feels muddled and confused in its messages, and we really have to wait until the very end for closure. God, I talk so much. I hate this. Why am I so boring? God, why do I sound like I'm reading off a fucking teleprompter? I like how Aang goes against the teachings of the older avatars. Because of course, he's still a 12-year-old boy incapable of cruelty and mass violence. His draining of the Fire Lord's power was a perfect resolution to him winning without taking his life. And that's something only a kid would think to do. Which is unlike the crazed and power-hungry Azula, sister of Zuko, who carries the same hateful genes as her father and begins to grow unhinged. The last season has her mentally lose it, which kinda came out of nowhere, but I get it since she was about to be crowned the Fire Lord and her two best friends, I guess, betrayed her, you know, Ty Lee and May. So I see it. Maybe there was some slow progression on a second viewing I noticed, but it was some fucking weird shit. But oh man, is she crazy. Even Iroh thinks so. No, she is crazy and she needs to go down. Awesome. But I love her recruiting May and Ty Lee to her side. They make a great group of assassins that are always fun to watch. I love Azula's unsettling musical theme as well, which pops up whenever she does. Also, I like that Ty Lee, you know, hits pressure points and makes you lose your bending abilities temporarily. That was some pretty cool stuff. She was like the circus girl, hopping around. Really liked her. And then there is Zuko, my favorite. The best developed person in the whole ordeal. Traumatized by the separation of his mother, and permanently physically scarred by his insane father, who also killed his own dad, in a public duel to teach him a lesson. He begins the show truly ugly and hideous, with his hair tied up and you can clearly see the entire scar and his face is white and you're like, what the fuck? He has only one goal in life, to find the Avatar and regain his honor. Once I have the Avatar. Because he foolishly believes bringing him to his father after his banishment would bring about redemption. No one else is so stupid. His progression from over-the-top villain to calm and good ally is wonderful. It's a trope we've seen 1,000 times before. The bully bad guy turning good, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Zuko's arc is treated with special care, and he is not allowed to turn good until many, many failures. Very realistic. He even betrays his loving Uncle Iroh in a key battle, and he fails over and over to make the right choice on his own. This is why it works! These things rarely happen overnight. And television is the right format to show how long it takes for even the most despicable people to come to terms with the horrors they've committed. And Avatar earns it! It's one of the best moments when Iroh embraces Zuko finally during that apology. And like Zuko doesn't understand how he can so easily forgive him. It's just a wonderful, very real scene. That's how a lot of relationships are, especially with family members. Sorry, it's cold in here. Especially with family members. It's like this, was it a bell curve or is it a sine curve? A bell curve, right? That's what Steve Martin was talking about. Yeah, you like start out loving your parents and your relatives and you get a little bit teenage years, 20s, and you start to hate them and grow distant from them. And with time, perspective comes and then eventually you come back to appreciating them and you understand that you were an idiot. That's a very hard lesson for us all to learn, but we have to learn it. Zuko's very young, but again, they do the 3 seasons. It takes fucking all 3 seasons, and I guess over the course of a year. So that's very short, relatively speaking. Normally it takes a fucking lifetime for some people, or decades. So it's not a cheap thing at all. I mean, they absolutely earned that moment. I was seriously tearing up. And I love how his appearance fucking finally changes. It really marks the whole change of his character, too. You know, he cuts his hair and finally fucking grows it out, and then he looks ridiculous with the kind of the buzz cut or whatever the thing he has, and then finally it grows out to where he looks his best with the shaggy hair that covers part of his eye. He looks the most badass there, and loved it. And let's not forget the blue spirit. Amazing. Acting like Zuko's alter ego, cloaked in black, donning a blue and white tribal-looking mask. He sets about in the night like a ninja. In its place, he can do good, even when he doesn't realize it. It gives a glimpse of Zuko beginning to question his allegiance to home and country. Like, the first time, the Blue Spirit, like, when he's in bed at the end of the episode and he looks up at the Fire Nation symbol on his wall, and he kind of stares, and that's the beginning of him questioning authority. It's so good. These relationships are what people cherish the most. Of true family and friendship, where it takes months and years to appreciate what you've always had. Also, I gotta interject here and say that Aang and Katara's romance did not work at all for me. That was so fucking weird. A little forced and very awkward. I hated the whole brotherly, sisterly love, or, you know, are they just friends, and are they gonna end up as partners? I thought that was really fucking silly. Again, maybe kids, you know, he's 12 years old, she's, what, 14 or some shit? But I thought it was very lame, very forced element of the show. I'd have just cut all that shit out. Very bizarre relationship, even from the get-go. Some of it made me cringe pretty hard. Avatar: The Last Airbender is overall a good show. Its few problems can be overlooked for its accomplishments in relationships and moral themes. But man, I'm still annoyed at Sokka sometimes. Like, he was fucking annoying at times. I liked him and I also didn't like him. It was very fucking weird. Liked a lot of the jokes he cracked, some of them I didn't. It was just too goofy. And lame elements like Combustion Man. Seriously, what the fuck was that guy? Stupid, like... God, it was dumb. And then Sokka just takes him out with his boomerang, and I thought that was an open-ended thing, but I guess not, because he made him blow up his own fucking head, and then his metal arm was seen falling. I guess that was them saying he was gone forever. But I didn't like it. And Zuko's mom! Oh my god, how did they not show, like, what... I hated that ending. It almost pissed me off. I mean, I can see what they were trying to do, but, like, him confronting Ozai in prison and being like, you're gonna tell me exactly where my mother is, and that's the last thing we see? Come on. I mean, God, I don't know. Maybe I was just looking for closure, so maybe that's on me, but I thought it was pretty fucking stupid. But you also get some, like, really darker moments early on, like that episode where we first meet Jet, and he's willing to take out that innocent village's collateral damage when they destroy the dam, and there's that shot, like, once they think the village has been wiped out, of, the teddy bear or some shit, and the look on Katara's face. They were really hinting at that fucking just murder of innocent people, and you find out later, very quickly, that Sokka saved everybody. That was when I think that was the first time I saw the show hint at something really, really fucking dark. But we get an incredible new cast member in Toph. Loved her. A young blind girl who's been sheltered by her overbearing parents. And just they keep holding her back. The dad, you know, it's just like, you're not capable of any of these things. And he doesn't realize his daughter might be the most powerful earthbender. I loved it. Because she's sneaking out at night. She's the perfect earthbending teacher for Aang. It's cool how she sees with her feet by sensing the vibrations all around them. She can even tell when someone is lying. And I can't forget about poor Appa, who gets taken in the desert and is missing for several episodes. See, something like that would not have worked if we didn't love him so much, but I really cared. I love that fucking flying bison. Truly the real MVP. And when he disappeared, I was like, no, Appa! And it was cool that he was, like, absent in the episodes, and they went back and they showed you where he was and how he escaped. I thought that was pretty cool storytelling. And how fucking wonderful is it that he remembers Zuko, because Zuko let him go when he was, like, in bondage, when he was chained up. Remember when Uncle Iroh was like, do the right thing, and Zuko lets Appa go, and then so when he comes to plead his case to join Aang, and everybody hates and nobody believes him, and Appa's just sitting there licking him affectionately. That was a really nice touch. I liked that a lot. And also the show had a lot of puns, which I greatly appreciated. I think I appreciated all of them. Kangaroo Island, huh? I hear that place is really hopping. And that goofy King Boomy was fun to watch. I thought he was awesome. He was cuckoo, but in the right ways. Liked it. And the cabbage guy. My cabbages! That was silly-ass running joke, but I liked it. So I gotta say, I'm not with the majority in loving this show. I don't think I loved it. I loved certain things, but it's probably because I wasn't there when it started. And again, guys, I'm just seeing it for the first time now. I didn't grow up with it, but I liked it. I like it enough to talk about it and read essays and watch videos on it, like Wisecracks stuff. And it's fascinating that people keep talking about the show even 12 years after it ended. I haven't seen Korra yet, obviously. I'm gonna go on that next, but I think this is definitely a show that benefits from multiple viewings, for absolutely sure. So this one viewing of mine is all I can comment on for now, obviously, but I might revisit this show in like 5-10 years, maybe. We'll see. We'll see. It depends on what I feel about Korra, if there's any connection. I don't know yet. I don't know shit about Korra. But yeah, for now, I think the show is just good. with enough stuff to catalyze discussions. Gotta give it some time to grow on me for sure. Also, I've never seen the 2010 Shyamalan film by the same name of the adaptation of this material. I've never seen it. I remember watching Nostalgia Critic's review of it where he showed clips, but that was like 9 years ago when I saw that. I really don't remember. So I've seen scenes from that movie, but I've sort of forgotten because I didn't know what it was about or who any of the characters were, so it meant nothing to me. So I don't know who plays anybody. I don't know who the actors that play anyone are, or maybe I'll watch it and review it. I don't know what I'm getting myself into. If people request it, maybe I will, because I'm stupid.